Welcome once again to the chat room. Thanks for joining us. Nice to have your company. This is the fastest 28 minutes on television because we tackle the big topics and cover it completely, exhaustively, encyclopedically. Well, no, not exactly. We sort of. The topic today is what's wrong with the world, and the man who knows what's wrong with the world and can explain the Dean of City, Philip Jensen.
Thank you very much for introducing me as the man who knows what's wrong with the world, as if I've created the problem.
No, we don't hold you personally responsible for all of it.
Oh, good, just for my section.
Now, the topic is sin, because sin is what underlies what's wrong with the world.
Yep.
But it's not a well understood topic. I mean, it strikes me that for people who are not Christians, who are not believers, sin is a kind of a joke. It's not something that's terribly serious, is it?
It'd be an interesting exercise to walk out on George Street here at the cathedral and to do a survey of people of asking just a definition of sin. Because I doubt whether the general Australian public would know what the word meant.
I asked one person once, this is an exhaustive survey.
Well, we've got it all now, one, yes.
He said it's either to do with sex or rugby league. He said it's either living in sin or it's being in the sin bin.
Yes. Yeah,
and I thought, you're not taking this seriously.
No, but that's about it, isn't it? The sin bin. It's being naughty.
Yes.
Possibly.
And even for Christians, do Christians see how big sin is?
No, we tend not to. Our culture tends to downplay, to ridicule, to marginalise, and we Christians are kowtowing to our culture a lot, and so we don't like talking about it, and we feel self-conscious about talking about things that the culture laughs at. So we're self-conscious about Satan, we're self-conscious about angels, we're self-conscious about sin, and therefore we most likely do not understand it properly. As we preach on it, it's interesting the range of questions that come back from people about it.
In fact, when I preach the gospel, the thing that seems to me hardest is to get people to understand what it is, because there's a real reluctance to move away from the basic cultural position of we're really basically okay, there's just bits wrong around the edges.
Yes. Certainly, I think it's the hardest bit for people to partly understand, but basically own up to and accept and acknowledge that that's the reality. Because part of what keeps us together psychologically, I think, is the sense that I'm a good person.
Right.
No matter how many bad things I do, I really fundamentally, deep down, I'm a good person.
I tell lies, but I'm not a liar.
Yes, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And also, some of the people who are criminals put in jail, you'll see their family being interviewed saying, well, he really is a lovely father, he's a wonderful husband, he's a very kind man. Now, that can well be true. That is, in the home context, in that set of relationships, he might be really nice. The fact that he bashes people, robs banks, sells drugs, kills people, that's...
Still a nice person.
He deep down, he's a nice person. And so we all do that with sin. So we say, oh yeah, well, nobody's perfect.
Right. That's the cop-out for everything.
That's the cop-out. So therefore, you don't expect me to be 100%, but basically I do the right thing most of the time.
Okay. So it's a big concept, so let me ask you the short question.
I understand in California they tell lies once every 8 minutes.
Right.
That shows 7 minutes of truth-telling. So I'm really a good person, I'm not a liar.
It means when I'm in California I can say your 8 minutes are up.
Yeah.
The big question, what is sin?
I think the concept that captures it most centrally is rebellion, maybe autonomy, which I think is a really good word, except I'm not sure how many people understand that one either.
It's a declaration of independence.
It's the declaration of independence. It's a fundamentally relationship word. So it's not a morality word, it's not a rule-keeping word. Trespass is breaking rules, is going across the line into somebody else's property. But sin itself is a word of rebellion against God, of declaring, what did the Rhodesian man, Mr. Smith, do? Unilateral Declaration of Independence.
That's right, the UDI.
UDI,
yes.
That shows our age if we talk about that. But there was a man in Western Australia, Prince Leonard, who had the Hutt River province in which he declared himself independent of Australia and started publishing his own stamps and had his own embassy and things like that. Now that's what we've done to God.
We've declared ourselves independent.
Yes.
Why is that? That doesn't sound like a big thing, an awful thing, that has cosmic consequences. Why is it so big?
Well, because we're dependent.
So it's a lie to start with.
It's a lie to start with. We are built and created and made to depend upon God. And in fact, we can't do anything without him. You know, we have bushfires every year. We've got a terrific fire service. They do a wonderful job. You've got to admire the organisation and the dedication and the commitment, but they never actually put fires out. You've got to wait to God to send the rain or the change in wind to put the bushfire out. What the bushfire brigades do is protect property, protect lives, but ultimately it's too big for them. We are dependent upon God for everything in life.
So no matter how good our farmers are, ultimately God feeds us.
The drought can wipe them out, the floods can wipe them out. They're not in the hands of the farmers. And it's God who feeds us, yes. And so to declare ourselves independent of God is a lie.
It's a step into fantasy, almost.
It is, yes. A very big step into fantasy, because it's actually saying, I'm God. I can run my own life, my own way. 4-year-olds are very good on I can do it. It's one of their favourite phrases, I can do it. And you look at them, you can't. But, I can. Well, we are like 4-year-olds, and so it's infantile. What's the word?
A very long, difficult one. Infantilisation?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yes, and...
Roughly in that ballpark.
And it's fantasy.
Yes.
Because I'm not God. I can't run my own life by myself. I am dependent upon him for all things.
So if I say to God, I'm independent, I can do it, and I can't, that's when things go wrong.
Yes. Well, even if I could, it would still be wrong because he's God and I'm not. So it'd still be a lie, even if I could do it, because there are lots of things under God I've been created able to do. We can talk, we can read, we can think, we can plant, we can harvest. There's lots of things we can do under God. But I have a stroke in the next few minutes. I won't be talking. I won't be planting. I won't be walking. I'll be being carried out of here. I mean, my eternal independence is a myth.
Is it more than just the relationship, a thing between us and God, that we say to God, no, you're not going to tell me what to do, buzz off? Is it also something inside ourselves? If I say to God, go away, don't tell me what to do, I'm independent, does that change me?
Oh, yes. Because once I perceive myself as God, well, I may not consciously put it in those terms, of course, but once I say, okay, I'm going to do what I want to do, then I'm building the rest of the decision-making on the lie that I am not answerable to him. I don't owe him anything. I'm not answerable to him. I'm not going to be judged by him. I can choose what is right and wrong for me. Now, often I will choose what's right and wrong by what my culture says is right and wrong, what my parents said were right and wrong. But I still have that sense of sovereignty, that if I believe it's all right for me to steal from the taxman, it's all right for me to steal from the taxman. And it's got nothing to do with God. I don't have to answer him.
And if I think the 60 sign up there on the road doesn't apply to me, it just applies to other drivers, it doesn't apply to me because I make the decisions.
I'm a rebel.
Yes.
And so that's the heart of what sin is about. It's rebelling against God, saying, I'm not going to have you run my life. I'm not answerable to you. I reject you as being God over me.
We actually are inclined to think, I suspect, that I can do well enough without God. So we look at the rules that Jesus explains. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and mind and soul and strength. Love your neighbour as yourself. And we think, well, I can manage that. I'm doing okay at that, don't we?
Yes. Especially when we don't think about it. I mean, part of the problem with those laws, those commandments are, you can never finish doing them. Even if I spent all day today doing nothing but loving God with all my heart, soul, strength, mind, and all my neighbours, I've still got tomorrow.
Yes.
And the next day, and the next day. It's not like the end of school, the HSC, when you've actually done it and you've passed and you never have to do it again.
Yes.
It's a commandment that is open-ended. And I can never reach the stage where I love God with all my heart, all my soul, or love my neighbour as myself. I just don't do it.
If at the heart of sin is the idea of breaking that relationship with God, go away, buzz off, stop bothering me. If we don't have that relationship with God, does that Does that interrupt our ability to have relationships with each other?
The key, does it interrupt the relationship with each other? I was going to come in on something else first. That is the we in who the sentence is.
Okay, come in on that.
That is, who are we? Part of my sense of autonomy and independence is I make the decisions for me. But that also is a big lie about who I am, because I am part of humanity. I'm not actually an independent person. I've come out of the union of my parents. Without their union, I wouldn't be here. I'm a mixture of their genes. But their genes are only the ones they inherited from, they inherited from, they inherited from. And all humans are together in this rebellion against God. So it's not just Philip Jensen or Kel Richards decided one day that Kel would do something. It's all of humanity has decided to rebel against God.
So one of the big things about sin is it's not sinful people and good people, bad people. It's the entire human race.
Yes.
And every generation,
Yes.
going back to the very first generation,
That's
every
right.
man, woman and child.
We're all in it together.
So
It's like Australia going to war. You know,
Yeah.
I mightn't like Australia going to Afghanistan. But if Australia goes to Afghanistan and I'm an Australian, I'm at war with Afghanistan.
Yep.
And I can run up protests, I can write letters to the Prime Minister, but I'm an Australian, and Australia, the only way I can stop being at war with Afghanistan is leave Australia.
Cease to be an Australian
Cease to be an
citizen.
Australian citizen.
Yes, yeah.
Because I'm part of the Australian world, and it's a myth to think that I am not connected to the decisions of the community around about me.
Okay, so we're all in this together. How did we get to be all in this? I mean, that's one of the things that the world around us likes to make jokes about. Adam and Eve and the apple and all that sort of
It's
stuff.
interesting, a number of jokes and parodies about this area of Christianity,
Yes.
which I'm sure a subtle psychologist would say that actually says something about people, that they have such a problem dealing with guilt.
That they have to make jokes about it too.
Adam and Eve, there's all the jokes about their nakedness and about eating the fruit and eating the apple pie and that kind of thing. Mae West did a big send-up on it many years ago. Satan with his pitchfork and his opera cloak and his horns.
Cartoonish stuff.
It's cartoonish stuff that is made. But you have to come to terms with the reality that universally humans are morally flawed. All people everywhere tell lies, even though no one actually believes in telling lies. And there aren't many things that you can say are true of all humans. But wrongdoing is true of all humans.
It's universal.
It's universal.
Right.
Now, wrongdoing isn't sin. Wrongdoing are sins.
So it's the difference between sin, the core problem, and sins, the
Yes.
expression of...
That's right. They're the symptoms
Yep.
of the fundamental disease. The fundamental disease is the rebellion against God.
If I've got spots on my skin, it's because there's a disease in
Yes.
the bloodstream.
And everybody has spots.
Yeah.
So we've got to ask ourselves, why has everybody got spots? Even people who don't want to have spots have got spots.
Even the people who pretend they don't have spots.
Have still got spots.
Right.
So you've got to say there is a disease here, which is what the Bible describes in terms of Adam and Eve, in terms of their eating the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Not an apple.
Not an apple. Now, excuse the pun, but the real name is a mouthful.
Yes.
And the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you can see why people turn it into an apple. It's a lot quicker and simpler to say. But the term is a very important term. Satan says to the woman, if you eat of this fruit, you'll become like God, knowing good and evil. The woman looks and sees that it'd be good to be like God, knowing good and evil, so she eats the fruit of the tree and gives it to her husband who eats also. And then we read at the end of the same chapter, they do become like God, knowing good and evil. Now, how does God know good and evil? He doesn't know it by kind of understanding it. He knows it by determining it. He is the determiner of what is good and what is evil.
Making the laws,
He
making the
makes
rules.
the laws.
Yep.
Right? And that's what she wants to do. Up until now, she and he were created to obey the laws, to keep the laws. But here is the opportunity, instead of being a keeper of the law, to be a lawmaker. Now, because people concentrate on symptoms instead of disease, they think here's the opportunity to be a law breaker. But it's not being a law breaker, it's being a law maker. Because God is not a law breaker, God is a law maker. And so she wants to now rule the world without God, as does Adam.
So they've said, God has said, here are the rules, and they've said, nice set of rules, I'm going to make up my own. I'm not going to follow your rules. I'm making up my own
That's
rules.
right. And so they become outlaws.
Yes. Outside of God's law.
Outside of the law. It's not just that I've broken the law. I've become an outlaw. I've placed myself like Prince Leonard outside of Australia. I won't acknowledge the Governor-General. I won't acknowledge the Constitution. I won't acknowledge the police. I am my own lawmaker.
So the idea was all of us are like the outlaws in the American West or pirates on a pirate ship, stepped outside the realm of God's law.
Yes, all of us do it, but it was done for us by our parents.
Right.
So,
So we repeat what they've done.
we repeat what they've done, but we accept and embrace what they've done. That is, I speak in English, not necessarily recognised by everybody around the world as English, and we do have viewers in America and England who only vaguely speak English, unlike us.
Yeah.
But yet, my name is Danish, and my good looks, they're Danish too.
Yes.
And that is because 4 generations ago, my great whatever grandfather made a decision that has been my life. I know very few Danish words even. I know Lego, Niels Bohr, there's just...
Yes.
I watch a Danish cops and robbers show on television and I don't recognise anything that's there.
And don't know the words of the language.
Don't know the words, I've got to read the English subtitles.
Yes.
I know nothing Danish, but I'm an Australian because of his decision. His decision is my life. And so it's not just that, well, Adam made that choice and now I've made the same choice. When Adam chose, he chose for us all because we were genetically all there in him.
His decision to migrate out of the garden and away from God was our decision.
Yes.
We're now out of the garden and away from God.
Communal thinking is very different to Western thinking. Westerns are, I'm an individual. Every individual makes everyone's... But that's not true. We are part of humanity.
So these things flow on.
And all humanity makes a certain choice, and we all have to live out that choice. And all humanity was there in Adam and Eve. It wasn't just there was a man and a woman. They made a choice, and now all these others are being punished because of them. It's in their choice we were choosing. And so the whole of humanity went that way.
Because the whole of humanity went that way, is that why the world is the way it is today? I mean, people will sometimes say, if God's a good God, why isn't the world better? Is this the answer? Is the answer that the human race has stepped away from God and said, no, do it our way?
This is certainly part of the answer. It's not the totality of it, but it is part of the answer. That God, in his kindness and mercy and generosity and patience, has allowed us to go on living the way we're choosing to live, even though it's to our own hurt, even though it's to the destruction of his environment and his creation. He has not stopped the world. He has given us time to repent and to change and to turn back to him. And so we live now in a troubled world. I mean, he's given us what we deserve. He's given us what we asked for. We said, God, butt out, let us run the world without you. So he's butted out and let us run the world without him. We can't do it. We keep getting it wrong.
So life hurts.
And so life hurts.
Yes.
And then we turn around and say, well, hang on, why are you hurting us like this? Well, we asked for it.
Yes.
We're only getting exactly what we asked for.
So when people say, why does life hurt? The answer is like the man at the equator who says, why is it hot? The answer is because of where you live.
Yes.
We live in a world in rebellion against God.
That's right. And if you don't like that, then turn back.
So looking at the implications of all of this, and we've just had a sort of long excursus when you picked up on a pronoun we.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Come back to the question
That's
now.
okay. I didn't forget it. One of the implications, one of the things that flows on from this is that without that relationship to God, we're not good at relating to each other. Is that right?
Oh, that's right. So one of the things you see the Adam and Eve account is that When they had eaten the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they immediately saw they were naked and were ashamed and wanted to cover themselves up. Because as long as you and I are living under the rule of God, under the relationship with God, the way God wants us to live, I will not think of hurting you, you will not think of hurting me. But once we say, okay, God, get lost, we're going to make up the rules, I think, oh, I could do that to him, and then I think he could do that to me. And there's no reason why I don't do it. I met one night at a discussion group with a man who claimed he didn't believe there was such a thing as good and evil, that there was just, people just did what they did. And I asked him about things like pushing drugs, and he said, oh yeah, well, he'd give drugs to teenagers if he could make money out of it, why wouldn't he? And it was that kind of Ayn Rand philosophy, every person for themselves. And I said, would you bash people? Would you actually murder someone? And he said, well, if I needed to, I would.
Total selfishness.
Total, absolute selfishness. Now, it was a discussion, and I was pushing him further and further out, and he was going along with it. But at the end of the night, I said, do you mind leaving the house first and get in your car and drive away? Because I don't think I want to walk down the garden to the front gate with you. He was really awful. Because he quite boldly, plainly, face to face with me, said, I'd take your money if I could. Yes, the only thing that stops me doing more nasty things to people is purely getting caught. And if I was going to get away with it, wouldn't worry me, he said. Now, it may have just been a logical position he was pushed to, but he sure said it with a lot of conviction.
Yeah. He's not the only one. I mean, the idea of living without law and without government is what the philosopher calls a state of nature, and the life of man in the state of nature is solitary, nasty, poor, brutish, and short.
It's awful, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but that's what flows out of this kind of rebellion.
Nietzsche.
Yes.
Yeah. God is dead, do what you like. Even that bus thing that they've put up, the atheists have put up, about God is probably not there. I love that. I think, I didn't have the courage to say God isn't there, but, God is probably not there. So stop worrying and enjoy yourself. The probably makes me worry. If they said God is not there, maybe you wouldn't worry, but the fact that he's probably means that he may be, which is enough to worry. But notice their conclusion. Go enjoy yourself. Do your own thing. Do whatever you like.
So everyone's out enjoying themselves, everyone's living for themselves.
Absolutely.
And you end up with that sort of competition.
That's right.
What about the other implications? When God looks at us as sinful people, how are we looking to God? What sort of consequences are we facing because of sin?
When God looks at us as sinful people, what kind of consequences? Well, he is angry with us, patient in his anger. He's slow to anger. He's not angry in a temperamental sense of losing his temper. He is just in his anger, so he patiently is waiting in his anger. But he is angry. Angry that we've wrecked our lives, angry that we wreck each other's lives, angry that we've wrecked his creation, angry that we have rejected him who loved us so much and gives so much to us. He's got every good reason to be angry, and he is angry with us.
His love for us must be part of that, because everyone we hurt is someone else he loves.
Yes. Anger is not the opposite of love. Anger is an expression of love, and God is angry with us. But also, we are caught between hypocrisy and shame in what we're doing with our... Because what we do is we suppress the truth. We know God's there, but we don't want him. So
because we're guilty.
We're guilty. So we suppress the truth out of sinfulness, it says in Romans chapter 1, verse 18 following. And then we make up other gods. We make up gods that we can domesticate, we can control. We make little statues, we make religious charms. And so you move into all the kind of religious bric-a-brac of crystals and aromas and temples and the rest, all of which are gods that we can control, all of which are gods that we can polish up and put somewhere, who never actually demand anything of us. But we become very religious in our rejection of God.
Even with things that don't look like religion, even like money.
Yes.
And the worship of money. And
yes, we will worship anything. But the idea that we will wind up being independent and autonomous totally actually evades us, it escapes us, because once we accept the lie we've placed ourselves under the authority of Satan. See, Satan says to us, you don't have to obey God. You can be a free man. You run your own life your own way. And you think, okay, well, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be boss of me. But I'm not. Satan has now become the boss of me because I now am believing his story, his message, and I'm placing myself in his kingdom.
But I'm pretending I'm free. I'm
Yes.
independent.
Yes,
And
yes.
I'm not under anyone's control.
No.
So it is that shift out of reality into fantasy.
Yes, very big shift. It's like the 60s revolution and the 90s revolution. The 60s where they grew long hair, and the 90s they started tattooing their bodies. And everybody does it as a sign of independence and a sign of my individuality, and we all do exactly the same thing together.
Simultaneously, at the same time, yes. See, look how independent I am. I'm
Yes.
just like all the rest of them.
Yes.
We suppress this. But someone once said this is the one truth that it's really impossible to suppress in the end, because if there's evidence for anything around us, it's that this is a world in rebellion against God.
Yes. And so it's a nonsense and it becomes foolishness. And so very clever people become very foolish.
Using their cleverness
Yes.
to invent ways to suppress this
To suppress the truth.
and their own guilt.
Yes. And so there's a very interesting book called The Intellectuals by Paul Johnson, in which he recounts the life story of quite a whole range of intellectuals. And it's interesting, it's fascinating, it's sad, it's pathetic, because time after time, great ones, considerably cleverer men than me, not than you, but me, become completely stupid. And the stupidities, the foolishness, the folly, lies always back at the base root. That is, they reject
Stupid
God.
at very clever levels.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes.
So it's a huge topic. We have only scratched the surface. I mean, I keep saying in 28 minutes we'll cover it. Well, we sort of covered it in 28 minutes. There's a lot to talk about. It's a big issue and it's a central core issue in Scripture. So it's a good idea to talk about it in your Bible study group. If you'd like to hear more from Philip Jensen, pop along to St Andrew's Cathedral in Sydney if you're in Sydney or visiting Sydney. Nice to have people come along every week, isn't it?
Yes, and on the subject of sin, I'm an expert. I've spent a lifetime doing it, and so I'm happy to talk to people about it.
Pop along to St Andrew's Cathedral anytime to hear Philip teach the Bible. In the meantime, thank you for your company, and we look forward to your company again next time on The Champion.